fathers, my brothers, I lift up my voice and raise it high, telling the stories of your children's cries. For our ability to survive the onslaught of the enemy's drugs, guns, and alcohol, his prisons and his killing fields, depends directly on whether you are willing to stand up and resist the outrages that are being heaped upon us as a people and build a new society. Yes, the task is difficult. The odds are against you. But you must organize to find a way or make your own way. Go ahead, brother. You must change today so that tomorrow may dare to be different. And when you have fought back and regained your pride, when you have won some battles, when you are able to tell the stories of your heroism, when you can pass on to your young the tradition of struggle through examples of your having stood up for a better tomorrow, when you take control of our institutions, our media, our schools, when you maximize our economic resources towards our own benefits, when you stop making excuses, when you start standing with our mothers, when you stick it out with your families, when you start mentoring our young, when you start teaching us to be humane, then we can build a new nation of strong people. Your sons and daughters will no longer need to belong to gangs because they do belong. Our youth will no longer be seeking drugs as an escape because they would have outlets in our society to develop themselves. When you start setting the conditions for our youth to fulfill their humanities, then we will not be in despair. We will be whole, complete, and hopeful. My fathers, you must shape the vision of tomorrow. But in order for that vision to become a reality, you must rededicate yourself to a new beginning. Go back to your families. Go raise and teach your children. Go back and organize throughout this nation to bring about a better day for our people. Our enemies can destroy us one by one, but no one can stop 1 million men organized and committed.
Okay, we had a little technical difficulties there. And I'm going to continue this evening. We're here, and we are getting ready for our scriptural studies this evening. I am your teacher for this evening, Alonzo Richard Fleming Jr., and I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. We have a program for you this evening that I believe will be helpful as you are studying. If you are studying with us, let me see here. Yeah, if you're studying the Course in Miracles with us this year, which is the teachings of Jesus worked out on a daily basis, a daily practice of experiencing the kingdom of heaven that's within you. This evening's program, we're going to be talking about the true mission of Jesus and how it affects you. The true mission of Jesus and how it affects you. And I discovered if I take a short time instead of a long time, I get it done better and everybody really can understand what I'm saying rather than giving a whole lot of information. I'm just going to give enough to get you the idea and get you studying. You know, the mission of Jesus has been totally misrepresented and misunderstood by the religious government, which is behind the scenes of religion, and having us. Thank you for tuning in, Keith. Thanks, I appreciate it. Religion, it doesn't appear that religion has anything to do with government. But as we go through the historical foundation of how this country, and we became Christians, if you're a Christian, you'll see the hand of the government and the hand of the mind behind the whole thing. You'll see it. It's very easy. See, if you were born in, say, Pakistan, you would probably be a Muslim. If you were born in India, more than likely you would be a, thanks for joining us, Cecil Land. It's good to see you. If you were born in India, more than likely you would be a Hindu. If you were born in America, chances are more than likely you would be Christian. The reason for these truths is because the environment and the social pressures of the whatever country you happen to be born in guides you to that particular philosophy. See, you're not special because you were a Christian. You're not special because you're Muslim. The society that you were born in has a social pressure that will cause you to more than likely take on the religious dynamics of that particular country. So if you were born in Israel, more than likely you would practice Judaism. So this is just merely a particular country or culture's view of God. And I want to say something right here, brothers and sisters, that you need to understand in relationship to this. See, if you have a religious philosophy that alienates your brother across the planet because he has a different religious philosophy, there's a lot that you are misunderstanding. It really is. Because of our perceptions, we see things based on our experiences. And I dare say that God sends us the religion or the spiritual teacher that we need for the time. You know, it's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So you're not going to get a calculus teacher when you don't even know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. You're going to get a calculus teacher when you have gone through the foundations of mathematics and are, proficient in trigonometry and able to deal with those calculus subjects. So the environment that you happen to be born in produces a certain pressure, which the individual that's born in that environment is more than likely going to be a part of that religious or spiritual teaching. And as we go through this lesson today, you're going to understand the true mission of Jesus and how it affects you. the first thing you got to understand is the mission. Jesus' mission, as the Bible says, was to his people. The Bible says that the angel came to Mary and told her about this baby that she was going to have. And this was going to be the characteristics of this baby. And he would save his people from their sin. So he came to his people. He was shaped for his people, for the time that they were in, the cultural situation they happened to be in. And he took certain principles and he formulated those principles to fit within the dynamics that he happened to be born in. You see, because when you are born in a particular environment, this environment also defines each person or each group within that particular environment. And every institution that, whether it be education, whether it be government, whether it be economics, whether it be the religious structure, all of them, the social structure, all of them within the confines of a particular environment will serve to reinforce the principles, the founding mind upon which that environment was built. So if you're a black man in America and America has defined you as second class, there is nothing you can do to get out of it. The environment has defined you as such, and except the environment gets redefined, you are stuck within that designation which that environment has designated you or placed you in. And so it's a futile effort to spend your time trying to fit within a particular environment if the environment has defined you in such a way. God does not demand that you do that you fix the environment that is not conducive to your spiritual growth, your health, the benefit of your family. No. I want to show you some things to help you understand this point. I'm going to go to my slides right now, and I'm going to read from the Declaration of Independence, which is the principle upon which this country was founded. Well, at least the principle upon which the Constitution was derived. The Declaration of Independence. And while they did not adhere to it themselves, the principles do not go away just because the person who is saying it does not conform to it. You see, the principles are intact. But listen to this. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they are accustomed. But when you see a long train of abuses and of usurpations by a government, pursuing invariably the same object, or saying it's showing you evidence that there is a design to reduce them to under absolute despotism, it is their right and it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their safety and their security. Now, what does that have to do with Jesus? What does that saying have to do with the mission of Jesus? See, Jesus, at the behest of the preachers of his day, was crucified by the government of Rome for speaking against a government. The preachers used this setup, the ones who were the custodians of the religious order. And if you read Jesus and read his, good evening, Angela, and read the New Testament, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will clearly see that Jesus' biggest problem was not the drug dealer, the pimp, the hoes, the murderers, and the drunkards. It was the preachers who was running around with the book, quoting the book. Their confidence was in the book. They were the biggest problems that Jesus had. And so they used the fact that Jesus was talking about overthrowing a government to get the Roman government to murder him. But Jesus was not talking about overthrowing the Roman government. It says here in the Declaration of Independence, though, that indeed that prudence will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And I'm telling you that Jesus was talking about overthrowing the government, but not the government of Rome. He was talking about overthrowing this government. He was talking about the thought system that the preachers had placed in their minds back in his day that governed their thinking and their behavior. That is the government that he was referring to. Because when you overthrow that government, every other government has to fall that's in line with that government. That is the government. That is the true mission of Jesus that he came for. And now we're going to talk about how it affects you. But look at this. It says when a thought system, see, prudence indeed will dictate that governments or thought systems long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they have become accustomed to. He's saying that you will suffer because you are used to the suffering, that you will continue. Mankind has a tendency to suffer while it's sufferable. I can take this pain. Oh, I can take a little more pain. Oh, I can take a little more pain. And maybe tomorrow it may not be as painful as it was today, but I can take this pain. He said mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they are accustomed. Now, in the Declaration of Independence, they was not concerned with communism, capitalism, thisism, thatism, socialism. They said that the form was irrelevant. The religious form is irrelevant. See, if it causes suffering and if it facilitates suffering, then it is your right under God and your duty under God to abolish it. The form doesn't matter. Let's suppose you have an abusive husband. An abusive husband that don't want you to leave him. He's abusive and he takes advantage of you and don't treat you right. And you want to leave. But every time you try to leave, what he says to you is that you're not going to find nothing better than this. Every time you start thinking about getting out, he scares you. He uses fear to keep you from even looking towards another way. And he says that anything different from what I'm doing is evil. And see, this is what the fear mongers do. The suffering is there under their tutelage. And they warn you against looking somewhere else. They say, that's New Age. That's one world government. That's evil. You stay here and suffer. Yes, that's different from what we are doing to you, but that's evil. And so you look at it and you say, I can't do that. That's one world government. That's New Age. That's Antichrist. That's this, that's the other. But in the meantime, his Bogaine is up your rear end. Mankind is more willing to suffer than to right himself. And when he starts to look at the mathematics and start to see, if I continue with this way, my children don't have a chance, you will discover a new thought coming up. And this is what happened when Jesus came on the scene of 2,000 years ago. The people were suffering. Their souls were crying out for relief. And when the soul cries out for relief of a people, then God or the universe starts to formulate the minds, and a woman or women will give birth to those that have the words in their mouth, who are able to articulate. And it don't matter who they are. The words are given to them and they're able to express exactly what the people are thinking. And so Jesus came into this environment of his people. When whatever people are suffering, the Christ spirit is formed through the desire of that people, and the Christ mind rises up and begin to teach that people the way of Christ. Now, but the environment that the people are in causes suffering. And the people know by nature that the environment is unhealthy for them. Let me read something to you from A Course in Miracles to help you understand your natural state. If you got to go beneath the state that you are in, listen to the environment that's designed for you by your God, by your Father, your spiritual Father. This is the correct environment that he produced for you. It is called the state of grace. And in the Course in Miracles, under that chapter, it says the world goes against your nature. The world is the thought system that permeates the environment that you're in. The politics, the religion, the economics, that is the world. The social structure, all of the mores, that's the world. But the Course in Miracles, as well as the Bible, says that the world goes against your nature, being out of accord with God's laws. The religion is out of accord with God's laws. The world goes against your nature, being out of accord with God's laws. The world perceives orders of difficulty in everything. This is because in the world's thinking, it perceives nothing as wholly desirable. In other words, there's nothing in the world that you want all of it. And so as a result, the world's thinking puts orders of difficulty on everything. This is more difficult than this. This is more difficult than that. This is this and this is that. It puts that order on you and you don't want it. You want the money, but you don't want to go to work. You know that something's wrong with this arrangement. Listen to this, the state of grace. Grace is the natural state of every son of God. When he is not in a state of grace, he is out of his natural environment and does not function well. Everything he does becomes a strain because he was not created for the environment that he has made. He therefore cannot adapt to it, nor can he adapt it to him. There's no point in trying. Listen, a son of God is happy only when he knows he is with God. That is the only environment in which he will not experience strain, because that is where he belongs. And it also is the only environment worthy of him, because his own worth is beyond anything that he can make. The state of grace. That is your natural environment. But your access to your nature, because the state of grace is the nature of you as son of God, but it's buried under religious dogma. It's buried under that, and you can't see yourself because that idea that's been piled on top of it buries access to your natural state, your nature. And so a Christ spirit or Christ spirits, I'm going to say Christ spirit, but is housed in different ones within your culture, within your mores, within the Christ spirit comes looking and sounding like you. He and she does not come sounding Assalamu alaikum. They don't come sounding like the Bhagavad Gita. They don't come speaking German or Arabic to you. They come speaking to you, using the words that you use, the phraseology that you use, the thinking that you use, and they come to show you the state of grace that is your natural environment. And that was the mission of Jesus Christ. His mission was to help them to escape from the God of this world through the knowledge of Christ as you. He came to show you the way out of fear, because fear is the prison that keeps you from looking within. It keeps you from, it is fear, because you have been taught that within you is no good thing. So who want to look at that? Who wants to look at that? That is a deception. And they use fear to lord over you. Lording over you is well, let me just go through it. It's the Lord of this world under the God of this world. If you listen to me Sunday, I explained to you how that each world has a God, small g, that oversees that particular world. You can read Genesis chapter 2, verse 4, and you can read 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, and it talks about the God of this world. The God of this world uses fear and blindness to keep you in control. He is the Lord of this world, and he uses fear as his main tool under religion to motivate and control you. And it's such a powerful delusion that he even makes you think that he can get you even after the grave. But that's another story. Let me go and look and show you something here. I want to give you the definition of Lord in the Bible, in the Oxford Online Dictionary. Now, we speak English, so I'm going to give you definitions to English words because you don't read Hebrew, you don't read Greek, you read English. And so we want to understand in the language that we speak, because that's the language that you need to understand the Christ spirit. Lord, used as a noun, is a person having great power and authority, ruler, master, the owner and head of an estate. As a noun, the person is a Lord. As a verb, it is how the Lord acts. Act in a superior and dominating manner towards someone or something. So those are the definitions of Lord, you see. Now, there is a proper Lord that was created by God, and I will go to that if I have enough time. It's right there in the Bible, and well, I'll just tell you, you can go to it and maybe we'll get to it. But Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and verse 27. It is the man who is in the image and likeness of God, who is the Lord of the material world. He said, we're going to give them domination of the birds, the earth, the beasts of the field. He is the proper Lord. But he has been displaced by the evil one, who hides in the shadows and make you think he is the Lord, when God made you the Lord. And since the earth and the creation obeys you, then the phony Lord gets you to curse yourself. And since the earth obeys you and the universe obeys you, it treats you like you curse yourself, but you are cursing yourself because you think God is cursing you. And so you curse yourself. But it's the phony baloney Lord doing that. Look at this. Beloved, here's the mission of Jesus. This is the basis of Jesus' thinking. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone, not some, everyone, doesn't matter. The Muslims, everyone. The Indians, everyone. The atheists, everyone that loves is born of God and knows God, even if he don't believe. Everyone that loves is born of God and knows God. He that loves not does not know God. Why? For God is love. That is the essence of God. Love. That is the foundation, the character, the nature, the essence. So he that loves not, do you see why he doesn't know God? He that loves not does not know God, for God is love. And since you love, you know God. And if you don't love, you don't know God. I don't care how much you talk, preach, quote scripture, get baptized, speak in tongues. Doesn't matter. Watch this, verse 17 of this same chapter. Herein, in other words, this is how, inside of this, that's what herein means. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because, listen, buckle your seatbelt. Here's why. Because as he is, Angela, as he is, so are you in this world. Do you hear this? As God is in this world, so are you in this world. You are in the world the same way God is in the world. You're in the world the same as he is, so are we in this world. It's based on love. So the power, the same power, see, it's buried. You can't see it because religious gobbledygook has covered it all up. So he sends some and he opens their eyes and gives them insight into the mysteries that's there right before your eyes. As he is, so are we in this world. This is where your power is housed, equal to God's power. Listen, there is no fear in love. So if you fear God, you don't know God. Why? Because there is no fear in love. But perfect love casts out fear. Why? Because fear has torment. See, when you are functioning under a fear ideology, you are tormented. I don't care what church you go to. If they use fear to motivate you, you are not functioning in love. There's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has torment. And he that fears is not made perfect in love. So I put down there as a reminder, God does not use fear to motivate you. Look at this. Little children, John chapter 13, yet a little while I am with you, you shall seek me, and as I said unto the Jews, where I go, you cannot come. So now I say this to you. In other words, Jesus is speaking, and he's speaking to his own people, the followers of him, all the people that was following him. It was a big crowd, and he had to take off. And he's speaking to them just like he spoke to the Jews. Now, let me tell you who the Jews are. The Jews that Jesus was speaking about in his day were the Pharisees, the scribes, the Eames, the Sadducees, and all the other E's that was quoting scripture to bring the people down under fear. And this is how they control them. Through fear. They represented God through the book, and they use fear out of the book and put it on the people. And the people, they couldn't do anything because they were under the delusion that these Jews represented God. And so they pick up the book and say, Jesus, people, the scripture says. So he's speaking to them just like he spoke to the Jews. He said, where I go, you cannot come. So now I say this. He told them they can't go. Yes, I'm saying God cannot, nor does God curse. He cannot curse, and God does not curse. That you love one another. A new commandment. This is now he's talking to his disciples. See, he told the Jews, you can't come. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you, by this, verse 35, shall all men know that you are my disciples. Here is the standard, and here is the commandment that Jesus gave. He wiped out all the other ones and gave them a new one. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. And here is how people will know that you are my disciples, verse 35. Not if you get baptized, not if you speak in tongues, not if you go to church, not if you pay your tithes, not if you pray, not if you fast. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one to another. God does not use fear to motivate you. God does not use fear. Look at this, Mark chapter 3. And the scribes, the scribes are the ones who was the custodians and the editors of the scriptures. They was the one that's editing it. See, they were responsible for taking what in, putting some out. That's who they were. They were the custodians and the editors. And the scribes, which came down from Jerusalem, said, he has Beelzebub, and by the prince of the devils, he's casting out devils. Now, this is a common argument that comes from the world that's on its way out. See, you will come, the Spirit of God will come and say, forgive one another. Love one another. You see, do good to one another. Curse not. You see, do not, but respond evil with good. See, and so they will come because these sayings and these principles, they are miracles. They produce miracles. They produce miracles. So the world that's on its way out will tell the people, he's telling you to forgive by the power of the devil. He's telling you to love your brother and love your enemy, who really is your brother, by the power of the devil. He's doing all this by the power of the devil, the chief devil. And so it was no different with Jesus. So they said that these scribes, these Bible thumpers, these church preachers coming up and saying he's casting out devils by the power of the chief devil. And he called them unto him. This is Jesus doing this. And Jesus said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? He asked them a question. How can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but he has an end. This is what he's saying. Satan is not going to come casting out Satan. He's not going to come telling you to forgive. He's not going to come inducing you and motivating you to forgive. He's not going to come, because see, he's about unforgiveness. He's about violence. He's about doing evil for evil. He's about cursing when they say, bless those that curse you. Satan says, no, curse him back. So Jesus is saying all these things, and they saying, because they can't fight against it any other kind of way, because the people have been made rotten by their doctrine, and you can see it all around you. You don't have to look far to see it. You don't have to look far. It's all around you. It's in your community. You can see the rotten decay and moral degradation inside and outside the religious organization. You don't have to look far. We've been turned into a rotten and destroyed people. And so they don't have an argument because all the evidence is right there in front of the people. So the only thing they can say is, he's doing this by the power of the devil, so that they can use fear to scare you away from getting your healing. If you get healed, it was the devil that healed you. That's Satan casting out Satan. So God does not use the tools of the devil to get his kingdom going, and the devil does not use the tools of God to get his kingdom going. So God is not going to use fear to get you to come into his kingdom, and the devil is not going to use love to get you to come into his kingdom. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Is it not pretty simple? Satan can't cast out Satan. Now, let's continue with this. So let me see. So we have here no value, no principle, no honor, no love among our community. And that we're going to get to that. We need a code of conduct in our community. See, because Satan brings about lawlessness. Anything goes in our community. That is Satan. You don't like my church? You go build you another one and fight with me. You see, that is Satan doing that. Satan is the one that brings about confusion. God brings about brotherhood. And so he tries to make you think that he got brotherhood when you clearly see is divided. Church here, church there, 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 and hell all around you. Y'all got to give account now, Reverend. You got to give account. If Satan rise up against himself or cast out his own demons, he's divided and his kingdom cannot stand. It has an end. Who is the Lord of the earth? I'll be done in 10 minutes. The earth does have a Lord, and the Lord's essence is love, but the Lord has been displaced through deception. He has covered himself and made himself look like an angel of light. You know, and light is synonymous with knowledge. You see, he has turned himself into an angel of light or a messenger of knowledge. But you notice that you never get any knowledge. When he speaks, it's rhetoric. It's not knowledge. It's not causing you to think. It's not getting them juices flowing and causing you to dig deep down into your soul and examine yourself with the light that's in you. It's blind obedience. God gave a Lord of the universe in the beginning, And this Lord was tricked, and his authority was hijacked. So we need now to know who the Lord is. Jesus came to tell you who the Lord is. But I think what I'm going to do before I go to that one, I want to show you something else. But Jesus called them to him. He's talking about his disciples, and said to them, you know that they which are accounted to rule over the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and their great ones exercise authority upon them. But so shall it not be among you. But whosoever will be great among you shall be your minister, your servant. Bishop is your servant. And whosoever of you will be the chiefest among you, bishop, shall be servant of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life for a ransom for many. So what they did, they called Jesus Lord, and Jesus was sitting there washing their feet. And while he's washing their feet, he says, now I'm washing your feet. I am the Lord, and I'm washing your feet. This is what I want you to do. I'm the Lord. I'm the top dog, and I'm serving you. So if Jesus was serving them, what the hell are you doing serving these preachers? They should be serving you. I was working in Los Angeles at this Armenian school. I was setting up their science department for them. And they had a beautiful campus. They had their church. Now, Armenians are Christians. They had their church right in the center of the entire campus, and all of the buildings, the science buildings, the classroom buildings, all the, the high school building, the elementary, and all the little buildings were built around the church. It was in the center. And I was impressed by it. And I'm walking with the rabbi or whatever, I forget what the title was, but the big cat who was over the entire school. He's trying to get to know me too, because he's fascinated about this man that has all this knowledge of science and how to design laboratories and build this stuff and set up an entire department, science department. He's fascinated because he see this young black man doing this. Priest. Thank you, Jay. Priest. Exactly. Thank you for that. He was just as curious about me as I was to him. So I was complimenting them on the design, and he was impressed that I recognized the design, the unique design that they had. And he said, can I share something with you? I said, sure. It's about your people. And he felt comfortable enough to tell me this. He said, I noticed that you guys have a lot of churches in your communities, but it's always poor, and it's always depressed, and there's always a lot of crime, and people come in and exploit you all financially. He said, the reason that that's the case is the difference in how we see God and how you all see God. In our communities, God serves us. In you all's community, you serve God. You see that? In our community, black man, they got us serving God. But Jesus is washing his disciples' feet. And he says that you call me Lord, and yes, I am the Lord. And I'm sitting here washing your feet. And this is how I want you all to do. I don't want you to be like lords over the people. But I want whoever wants to be great among you, Give him this rag and tell him to get to washing your feet. And I'm not talking about no special service. He's using this example of feet washing with a perpetual service. Why is the bishop living high on the hog and you can't even get a pork chop? Why is it that you're able to get $1 million loan from the banks to build a church in the black community, the hood, the poorest, raggediest place on earth, and can't get $1 to build a business? Who has an interest in making sure the condition of you and I stay in a certain place? To no matter what we do, what we say, what we think, the condition stays the same. Who we vote for, it never changes. Why is this the case? I will tell you why it's the case. It's the same reason that Jesus came to his people 2,000 years ago, to get them to throw off their backs. Them hypocrites riding on their back for all those years and making them think that they are alienated from God when they are the very children of God himself. And so the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus called them the children of God. And when the preachers came up, Jesus called them the children of Satan. And so the mission of Jesus and your mission is to walk into the kingdom and lead your brothers and sisters into the kingdom. And Jesus said, don't look no place else for the kingdom, because the kingdom is within you, and that's where you got to look. And it is the only place that you look. I'm Dr. Fleming, and I am out of here for another day. I'll see you all Sunday at 9:45 for Sunday school.